Yo guys, so welcome back to a new video. So today I wanted to talk about in my opinion, the top 5 mistakes of the Walking Dead universe. Now maybe there are some things I have stupidly not thought of, or maybe there are some things that I wouldn't think of that if I knew about them or really actually thought about it, they would be mistakes bigger than what I've put. But I've thought like out of the whole of the TWDU, what do we call the Walking Dead universe, like the MCU? I don't know. TWDU. I have realized there are some things and choices that have been made that have been pretty bad and definitely have made a show worse or just put like a bit of a dampen on the universe where it just kind of lowers its overall like rating if you had to give it like a rating. So, starting off at number 5, we have The Walking Dead being 11 seasons. So this one's a bit of a funny one, but I genuinely believe that from season 7 all the way to season 11, if you were to simplify some things, you were to speed up the action a little bit, and get rid of some of the boring, pointless episodes, you probably could fit The Walking Dead into 10 seasons. And not only that, but season 7 and 8 being some of the worst seasons. Not in the universe, Fear the Walking Dead and World Beyond definitely, are the worst seasons. But being the worst in The Walking Dead and bad seasons in the universe, and arguably some people think that they're not actually that bad. Like, overall, they're not awful. But I think it would have just made them a lot better if The Walking Dead was simplified into 10 seasons. I'm a fan of The Walking Dead. I'm going to make that clear. I absolutely am. However, am a little bit not thinking about things that happened within them 5 seasons, but I generally do believe they could have been simplified, and I believe that was a mistake because The Walking Dead could have been even more consistent like it was within the first 6 seasons than it was within the last 5. And I just think it would have been better for some characters, and it would have been more entertaining to watch. So that is my 5th most important mistake. But I think the 4th is World Beyond existing. This one, I shouldn't word it like that because that's not true. But really, I do believe that the World Beyond existing is a mistake on the Walking Dead universe. Like, it is. I know some people love it all and think it's underrated as hell. I know some people will at least accept that Season 2 is better than Season 1. And I know some people won't even look at it. I am going to get around to watching it, but for now I'm using overall public opinion. And really, at least Fear the Walking Dead has some good seasons and episodes. So it's like, okay, that's not consistent, but it's got a reason to exist. It's alright. Whereas the only really thing that World Beyond has going for it is a reason, is teens in the apocalypse. But, besides that, nothing about it is really that interesting. People like the Jada's parts and about the CRM. Yeah, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's not a good show. And I am watching The 100. I'm on season 1. And The 100, if you don't know, is like post-apocalyptic children that used to live in the sky come down into a post-apocalyptic world. And they're like teenagers. And that is done so much better. There are times where it can be cringy and a bit cheesy what goes on in The 100, but for the most part, it's interesting, and I feel like if World Beyond had been like that, with The Walking Dead, not necessarily like whatever post-apocalyptic thing happened in The 100, I think it would have been so much better, and it did have potential, but overall, it didn't get the potential. It was bad, and I think it's just a mistake on the universe. My 3rd most important reason is Nick's death in season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead. This one kind of ties in with my first point, and maybe because of so, it shouldn't matter. And especially because Frank Delane wanted to leave, it's not like, Nick could have stayed on the show. Like, Frank Delane wanted to leave, and I don't know whether he wanted to leave because of the new showrunners or just because he had other projects or plans, I don't know. But it really is frustrating that they killed Frank Delane off in the way they did, because it affected Charlie's character, who is a character that, at least as we're aware, is still alive, at least until the very end of season 7, and so it ruined her character for all of Fear, and then it gave us a bad final taste with Nick, not because we didn't like him anymore, but just because, in my opinion, it just made Nick seem not as good as the character he was. I know that the way you die, you can't always help, But, like, the fact that he just got killed by this little girl, it was ridiculous. Like, there are so many other routes that they could have gone down with Nick's departure, and they went down, like, the one of the worst possible options, and so that's why I generally believe it's a mistake. And, of course, like I said, it obviously doesn't just affect him, it affects other characters and all in the TWD universe. Maybe that shouldn't have been my third point. Maybe it might not have even been top 5 or maybe 5th. But I just think it's an important point to make because, it's still a horrible point. And Nick was one of the most loved characters in the TWD universe if you watch most of the things in it. Like you've watched Fear and all. Second is Carl's death. I think Carl's death is a lot more of a mistake. I think that definitely could have ruined some of the possibilities. It did. It ruined some of the possibilities for the final seasons of The Walking Dead. And this is an unpopular opinion, so I'm going to say it, and I'm not hating on them at all. But I'm not a huge fan of Daryl and Carol. Like, I like them, I do like them. I like Carol more than Daryl, but I think they're both good. Okay, I like them, don't get me wrong. But I think we needed another OG character that was interesting, and I believe that Carl would have been great to see in them final seasons, and would have made it that bit more interesting. I really understand that Carl and Daryl are loved, and I really do like Carol and Daryl. Like, I do. I like Carol more because of her story, from, like, the genuine, complete growth that she went into, whereas Daryl, I feel like, had a big growth as well, but kind of, I believe, after, like, season 5 and 6, like, maybe I'm missing intricacies, but after that, he just kind of stayed the same as Rick's handman, and even when Rick left the show, he was still Rick's handman, just without Rick. Like, he was the same person. Like, maybe I'm being stupid. Okay, so don't take that as, like, the Christian or the gospel word or whatever. You don't take that as the truth. I'm not to talk about religion, but just don't take that as the truth that I hate Daryl and Carol, or that I even dislike them. And I should probably rethink my opinion about them. But I just think that Carl would have been so good for the final seasons, and it would have made like I said, the ending seasons better. Overall, I think Carl's death was a mistake, and everyone can understand that. There are different ways that Carl could have died, just like Nick. It's, the way that Carl died just wasn't right. Like, Carl could have at least died in a better way that would have made him go out with a bang. I understand that you need to have deaths that aren't the most extravagant, but Carl's death should not have been Carl's death. Like, just like Nick's death shouldn't have been Nick's death. And I also think that what Carl's death pushed forward within the narrative, I also am not convinced that was necessarily that, like, Carl's death did not need to be the reason that Rick and Negan ended the war. Carl could have impacted the end of the war in another way, or something else could have happened. It was just ridiculous. The only thing his death stood for, or meant, was, like, a shock factor. It was a shock factor. It was, but it's just another reason why people don't like Season 8 of The Walking Dead, so, And I would say the most detrimental mistake in the Walking Dead universe was rebooting Fear the Walking Dead. I talk about this all the time on my channel, about how it was a mistake. Fear the Walking Dead fans talk about it all the time, so I'm just going to put it very plainly, very quickly, very simply. Fear the Walking Dead started off as such a good companion, if not even sister spin-off / sideshow. And when it got rebooted, that was a mistake. And Fear the Walking Dead was the first major fail and flop. Season 4 and 5, or even Season 5, was the first major roadblock. I know Season 8 wasn't great, but, like, Season 5 of Fear was a disaster. It was a disaster. And so I believe that definitely is a stain on the Walking Dead universe. I think that they could have just ended the show, left it on a cliffhanger. They didn't need to do what they did. But that's all I can really want to say about it. It definitely ruined Fear, definitely left a stain on the Walking Dead universe, and was overall a huge mistake. They could have even just continued the show with the same direction, with just different people, like the same writers, at least trying to follow the same story, but they didn't even do that, which I'm kind of glad they didn't, because then we can at least not have a defined answer of, like, the same narrative with different writers, whereas at least they went off in their own direction. But yeah, that's just my top 5 ideas. Maybe some of them could be changed, or some of them could be way lower down. And of course, I think everyone thinks that there are mistakes in this universe. Even, like, all the universe, like the Marvel universe has loads of mistakes and flaws as well. But thank you for watching. I could definitely do a part 2 with other little kind of mistakes. But like I said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time in a bit.